Hi everybody. So this is going to be one of the first videos for CIM for the new class. So in this video, I'm specifically going to be talking about relative or incremental coordinates. So you can see here on my screen that we're talking about the initials project. So on Classroom, this is our relative coordinate system practice number 1, where you were just responsible for making a picture. Sorry, not like that one. Right here, being responsible for 2 letters that do not have any curves. So I know there's an M and a D on that, but I'm going to switch to my paper here in a second. But we're going to be talking about incremental coordinates. So now, incremental coordinates, if you remember, as soon as you move from your point A to point B, C, so specifically looking at the M, kind of like on our picture here, as soon as you move from A to B, A will become your point of 0, 0. So that origin, kind of like bottom left of the block that's on the picture, that is 0, 0. Once you move to A is 0.5 away from that. And then once you move the B, so you can see that there's a 0 in the X and a 1 in a Y. So you're only moving in that vertical kind of direction. So in the X, you're not moving anything, so that's 0. So once you go A to B, A is your origin, 0, 0. B to C, there's your origin. C to D, C is your origin. D to E, D is your origin. So on diagonal movements, you'll see that you have 2 movements, X and Y. But if you're just moving up, down, left, or right, most of the time you're going to have a 0 in the left or the right. So breaking this down kind of first on our paper sheet, I'm going to talk about that, and then we'll go to NC Viewer a little bit later. So now on my paper I have here, so I have 2 letters. I have T and Z. I just picked 2 random letters that are both straight. So moving from our origin, which is down here, bottom left, I'm going to be moving to A. So now this is 0, 0. So to go to A, I can then count my spaces. So this sheet, again, this might change year to year. So if you're watching this video in the future, this could be a little bit different now. But for this sheet specifically, so this first line, 0.125, the number is on the right side of the line. So if I move 1, 2, 3 spaces, my real number is 0.375. So 0.375, that's going to be my X, left to right, my X direction. So on the top right, I'm going to go add this number. So I'm going to add, let me correct it. I'm going to add 0.375 for my X direction. And for my Y, so up and down, again, I'm going to go all the way up. Then the same thing, this 1.75, this is talking about the line that's below it. So then my Y is going to be 1.75. So I'll go to my Y, 1.75. Now I have my X and Y coordinates for A, which is perfect. So now going to B, so A to B, A is going to be my 0, 0. So I'll just kind of put that on the side, 0, 0 right here, a comma in the middle. So A to B, I only have an X movement. So X is going to be positive because from right here, my A, let me take this paper away for a second. I'm thinking about it from A going to B. If this is my origin, then I'm looking at my my quadrants. So quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I'm only going in the right direction, kind of staying in kind of quadrant 1 and 4, I have a positive X. So going to the right, I have a positive X. And now my Y, I'm not moving in my Y at all. So that would just be 0. So now if I go back to my sheet here, so from A to B, I'm going to be moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now these numbers down here are completely irrelevant to me. These numbers here are just to tell you my scale. So my scale actually per box is 0.125, eighth of an inch. So if you did eighth of an inch times 6, that'd be 0.75. Or if you kind of just started again, you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you could subtract it, but an easier thing, each box is 0.125. So 0.125 times 6, that's going to be an X value of 0.75. So now back to my B point, X is going to be 0.75. And since I'm not moving up or down, Y is going to be 0. So you can put a 0 in your Y for your Y coordinate. Now, this is going to be a requirement for this first practice, your X and Y's, and with the paper of your 2 letters and your X and Y's, so make sure you do that. Now, going back to C, C is also going to be an X movement, but kind of like I just talked about before, how you're moving from your 0, 0 again, I'm going to the left. So from B, going back to the middle to C, I'm going this way to the left, which is going to be a negative X, because of, again, if I'm on my origin, going to quadrant 2, you have a negative X direction. So back to my 2 letters, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 spaces. So that's going to be 0.375. But now this is going to be a negative 0.375. And then same thing for my Y, going to be a 0. Then now here from C to D, so all the way from C going down to D, this is going to be only in the Y direction because I'm going up and down. So kind of the opposite. I'm doing a Y only, no X. So I can automatically go to D and then put an X, put a 0 for my X column. Now for my Y, let me count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is going to be 1 inch, 9, 10, 11. So 11, that's going to be 1.375. But now, again, this is my origin. So if this is my, can I draw this a little bit bigger? If I'm on the origin here, going down, this is going to be a negative Y direction. Oop, can't see that. So this is going to be a negative Y direction. So back to my paper here. So going from letter C to letter D, I'm going to do a negative 1.375. So negative 1.375. So now let us go back to our, let's actually kind of go ahead and show our program. So back here to the desktop, we're going to be on NC Viewer. So now a little bit of starter code. So top left, we have our G90, which is our absolute coordinate system. We have G20, which is going to be our inch mode. We have M06, which is our tool change the tool 1. M03, turn the spindle on. The spindle is going to be at 3,000 RPMs. These are kind of just standard. They don't mean anything for NC Viewer, but it's going to mean something later. Now, line number 4, G00, we want to go ahead and go to point A. So point A on my sheet is going to be X 0.375. My Y is going to be 1.75. Because again, that's my point A going for my 0, 0. My Z is going to be 1. I'm just going to make sure the tool stays high at 1 inch before I actually go down and engrave this initial. Line number 5, we have Z going negative 0.065. So we're going to go into kind of like our block and be engraving this initial. F9, just kind of our feed rate. Now G91, this is going to be the relative coordinates. That's what we're doing for this activity. So for relative coordinates, we're just turning the mode on. And then from everything after this, that 0, 0 is always going to be changing, which is the point of this activity. So now line number 7 or N11, G01, we're going to be moving to point B. So if I do X, then on my sheet, I have 0.75. For Y, I have 0. And then I'm going to do a semicolon. So now if I hit plot here, you can see that my tool is starting from 0, 0. It's going to my A point, going down, then moving all the way to my B point. So now if I do another line, so let's do N15, G01. Let's go to point C. So X, I have negative 0.375. Y, I have 0, semicolon, and then I'm doing parentheses, point C, and then close parentheses. If I hit plot, now it's going to look pretty funny, just my markers are going back to the middle, but since we're doing the letter T, it is important that it does go back correctly, and then now we're going to move down to then point D. So we do the same thing, N20, G01, let's do X0, Y, negative 1.375, semicolon, parentheses, point D, close parentheses. So now if I hit plot again, there we go. Now we have our letter A, point A, B, C, and D, and in end, we have our letter T. one thing, yeah, this is totally perfect. So then now, we would continue this process going to then E, F, G, and H to kind of work on that Z. But I do want to talk about something first. So going back to our drawing. So we're back to our drawing here. You can see that going from D to E, we also have to find that coordinate because we need to go, if our tool's down in our piece, we need to go up, over, and then back down to E so we don't engrave, you know, this diagonal line actually in our block. That would look bad. So D to E. So let me count this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grid spaces. So that's going to be 0.875. Now again, I'm in quadrant 1 because if this is my 0, 0, quadrant 1 this way, 2, 3, and 4, just like math. And then I'm going to go back up in my Y direction, positive, to my E. Now, I can cheat a little bit and not do the math because I know I came down from C to D is a 1.375. Now I know I could just do a positive 1.375 instead of counting. So 1.375. So now, back to my NC viewer, I need to take this tool that is down in the piece going up, over, and then back down. So let's go ahead and do that. Go back to NC viewer. So I'm going to do N25. I'm going to do a G00 because this is going to be a rapid movement going up, G00. I'm going to do Z 1.0625. Close parentheses. Now, you might be wondering, why am I doing 1.0625? Why am I not doing 1? Because since this is relative, if I show you from the side view, that we are below this gray line. This gray line is 0. We are below into the piece. So you can see if I hit plot, now we go back up to the same height that we started at. If I just did 1 here, 1.0, if I hit plot, you can see that there's a difference in the lines. One is lower, one is higher, because I'm not compensating for what I lost earlier. Because once I switch the absolute relative coordinate system, G91, whatever I subtract, if I go down -2, it doesn't know where 0, 0 is anymore. We always have to tell it where it is or make sure that we include what we took away. So if we took away 2 inches and we only add 1, then so like you go -2, you add 1, you're only at -1. You don't really go back +3. In absolute, that would work. But in relative, you always have to make sure what you take away, you put back and then add more. So if I go back, let me change this to 0.0625. Now I'm already up, so that's good. I'm gonna do N30. I'm gonna do a G00 to get there as fast as I can. Now this is gonna be my X and Y coordinates of point E. So X is gonna be 0.875. Y is gonna be 1.375. I'm gonna do a semicolon, and then I'm gonna put in parentheses, point E, close parenthesis. So now you can see on my little diagonal line, also from the top view works a little nicely. You can see that I'm actually moving to my point. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down. So I'm going to do N35, do G00, and now I can also then, oh, well, actually, I'm already at point E, so I just need to go down. So I'm going to do a Z negative 1.0625, semicolon. If I should plot, so now there you go, I'm going down into my piece. If I check from the side view, my height is the same as before, so that is good. Then if I keep going with this, I can add point F, point G, point H. So whenever you have to go up and over, so kind of this motion, finish my first letter, up, over to the next point and go down, you should always be doing these G00s. These are going to be a rapid movement up and over to get there as fast as possible. So later on, if we do some more practices or anything with mazes and stuff like this, this 3 pattern of G00, these 3 lines are going to be very, very, very important. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that, and hopefully this video helps for you and completing the activity on relative code.